I do believe that the work that you are doing in this room of taking back control of our individual bodies, of declaring reproductive freedom to be a fundamental human right, at least as important as freedom of speech or freedom of assembly, and perhaps more important, that this undoing of the wrong idea of dominance and passivity that has been upon us, and the idea that all sexuality must end in conception, is very, 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 very fundamental. And so is the existence of women in the world who, not because we're any more virtuous or smarter than men, we're not, but we haven't been raised with our masculinity to prove. So sometimes we are useful as peacemakers. Think about Ireland, which would still be at war if it were not for the Protestant and Catholic women who risked their lives to come together and be regarded as traitors. They earned the Nobel Prize for this, if you'll remember, who built a bridge across that terrible conflict, which I remember thinking, as I feel now about the Middle East, that it could never end, right? That people were writing plays about it and poetry about it, and been going on for hundreds of years. It could never end. And it did indeed end. Think about Liberia. I mean, Liberia was a completely demolished state with a rogue president and almost no building even safe from bombs and bullets. And it was the Christian and Muslim women who came together across that boundary, though they were not supposed to, who sat in the road and for months at great danger put on white t-shirts, said, okay, this is it, this is enough, 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 and finally got President Taylor sent to the International Criminal Court and got a woman elected president, and finally began to change that country, though it's going to be a very, very long journey. I say this right now because there is a delegation in this country from Syria, from women from Syria, who the Women's Media Center and others have been trying to introduce to the press to say, look, these women come from all the different factions, and they too can play a role. But because they are not the president or the prime minister, they are not looked upon by our government as people who could be helpful, but actually they can be precisely because they're not the president or the prime minister. So the more we examine gender and dismiss gender and consider what life would be if we looked at each other as unique humans, the more we understand that we, each of us, women and men, are the decision makers about our own physical selves. The more we undermine that most basic of power differences, the more our chance is of uprooting the very model of the violence that we see around us. And you in this room are the people who are doing this work. So I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you have the key to peace on this fragile spaceship Earth that we love so much.